Hello, everybody. So far, I see we have Denise, Doug, Gavin, Jordan, Megan, and Timothy. So welcome, and we're just going to wait a few more minutes for more people to join us. But let me get over to my notes here. But welcome to No Country for Cold Men. And so it's a local Colorado film success story, and we look forward to talking through all aspects of the film and what it takes to film in this region. So we're super excited about it, but let's go ahead and just wait a few more minutes before we jump in. And we do have a chat feature going, so we will do our best. And Denise says, hello all, thanks for holding this event tonight. Thanks very much, Denise. Denise is always up for being an extra in a film, so she's got experience. And she was in, what was the one? Souls? All Our Souls? All of a sudden, I can't remember it. With Jane Fonda and Robert Redford. It's Our Souls at Night. Thank you, Denise. And
nice.
Yeah, then we did another movie where my mom and I and her mom and I were sitting in the audience in a church, and it was a wedding. So I was like, can anyone lend us an engagement ring? And I was like, okay. But I got it back. But I kept my eye on that actress, that's for sure.
There you go. That's great.
Sole Custody, and then the one I was just talking about was Bar Mitzvah. Okay, I guess it was a bar mitzvah, not a wedding. So
Sole Custody. That was and we know the producer of that.
Clay Walker.
Clay Walker.
Clay Walker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We met him early on when we were working on
too.
ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Amy, for having us on, and thank you for moderating this thing. You know, we love hearing from people who weren't really involved in the production because it's a completely objective, outlook. Before we start, do you want to give us your little thoughts on it and how you felt about it?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm Amy Long, and I'm with the Colorado Springs Film Commission, as well as Visit Colorado Springs. And so I was asked a couple weeks ago to moderate this panel session, and I was happy to do so. And one of the things I obviously wanted to do was watch the movie. And we'll tell you all the places to watch it, but I found it on Apple TV, rented it, and I loved it. It was fun to see locations that I knew about and could identify. It was a fast-moving story. It was funny. And it was kind of gripping, and then there were some sad parts. So I don't want to give anything away. We'll talk about it a little bit tonight. But if anyone wants to chime in the chat, if you have seen the movie, we'd love to hear that. And after we've had our conversation this evening, we really would love it if everybody would go watch it and everything. So I think you'll definitely enjoy it. We have a couple more people that have joined us. And yeah, so are you guys ready to get going?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So first I want to introduce the panel. So we'll start with Stephen Morgan, and wave hi. There's Stephen. He is the film's director and the president of Studio Town, and he also co-wrote the script. Steve Kitzman was the producer, and he is also with Studio Town. Bobby Lee Black is a local actor, and we also have Omid Harrison, also an actor. And their characters, Bobby played David, and Omid played Kyle. And they were very different characters from one another, but both really compelling. So, again, I really enjoyed both of their performances. So again, just we'll probably answer questions at the end, but feel free to ask them throughout, and then I'll jump back in and go through that. So I wanted to start with the film's name, which is Rook. And so we were talking about that last night, and I looked up the definition, and it's not a word that's used as much anymore, but it's a cheat or a swindler, especially in game of cards. And so it's a verb to cheat or to swindle or to fraudulently overcharge. So, without giving away the whole film, Stephen, why did you decide on that name?
Oh, well, thanks, Amy. Yeah, we were writing it, and well, first, like the first draft of the script was a lot darker, and it was more like a drama, like a straight Coen Brothers drama. And when we ended up changing it to a more of like a Guy Ritchie, Coen Brothers, Shane Black mixture, and it needed a new name that was snappy. The old name was Black Red Gold, and so it needed something snappier. And one day we were talking about, like, we were kind of like taking the different actors and the characters and putting them in different rook or different chess pieces and saying, okay, well, Ben's kind of slippery, so he goes this way. He's probably the bishop or whatever. And then we hit David's character, and I said, he's the rook. He's steadfast. He's forward. He knows which direction he's going, and he's not afraid to make that. And then mixed with, like what you said, it's a slang term for swindling someone, or just taking advantage, and which is actually why we've had a lot of people ask why there's an official period on the title. And it's because it is kind of used as the verb. You know what I mean? It's to go out and these are people who are in hard times, and they're doing what they feel like is necessary to survive. And unfortunately, it's not the way to live your road. Like, it's not the way to live life. It's a bad way to do it.
It's
right?
definitely a cautionary tale, but just to let everyone know, it's a modern day gold heist. But Stephen, can you briefly take us along the journey of the film from when you concepted it to when you did that short, to funding and the first day of the shoot? Just take us up to when the film started to shoot.
Well, it started, me and Steve are both from Orlando, Florida, and he moved out here to Colorado Springs about 5 years before I did. And the whole time was trying to get me out here because he kept on telling me about Cripple Creek and Victor and just the springs. And he was just like, dude, this is like the best place ever. You got to get out here. We got to make movies out here. So he ended up hiring me to come out and shoot some commercials for the casinos up in Cripple Creek. And when I got here, I was just like blown away by the scenery and just by the coolness of it. And he kept on saying, like, dude, there's like no one doing movies out here. Like, it needs to happen. It's too cool not to. And so I just fell in love with it, just like he did, and went home and brought my wife out here and our kids just to see if they would like it too. They loved it. So we packed our stuff and moved out. When we got here, we started writing. Isaac Walsh, my co-writer, moved into my basement right over there. And we just started hammering it out. And so it took about a year and a half from the start of like the script when we got here, and we started writing it like the second we moved here. Like, this was why we came here. And then it took about a year and a half till production started. And through that was, it was trying to figure out how do you fund a feature film? How do you raise money for it? So none of us went to film school, so we just were like, well, I mean, the best thing I can imagine is do a short film version and give people a visual context of how it's going to play and the quickness of it and all that. And so we shot this short film that Isaac wrote, and it went to Denver, the Denver Film Festival. And but it was what we actually ended up using to raise all the money. Everyone saw it and said, okay, well, that's a movie I would like to watch for longer. And then so we did it with friends and family, and then we started shooting. Yeah.
Excellent. And so for Steve Kitzman, you shot in Cripple Creek and Victor. Why did you choose those locations, and why have you dedicated yourselves to shooting in Colorado on future projects?
Sure. Well, anybody who's been to Cripple Creek or Victor knows how visually stunning both of those little towns are next to each other. I mean, it still has all the character of the original gold camp of the 1890s. It's got one of the better views in the state of Colorado. On a clear day, you can see the whole Sangre de Cristo mountain range. The buildings are great. It's really preserved. And so it's just easy to walk around and go, wow, this could be a character in a film. And so it just really lended itself well. For a number of years, I was the marketing and events director for the city of Cripple Creek, which also had a lot to do with accessibility, being able to shoot up there with just the relationships that we had built. So it was really a community effort up there. Everybody got excited when we said, hey, we'd really like to shoot a film up here. And we've got this really good script of a modern day gold heist, kind of a modern day Western, if you will. And both towns got behind it. We had the support of both city governments and then residents in the towns. And it just was a great experience. And then furthering, I think the climate, between the climate, the scenery, the people, the talent that's here, Colorado is just a great location to shoot. And Colorado Springs is, really a fantastic place. There's so much diversity right here. And we're just excited to keep doing projects here. And, as opposed to us trying to make it big and move to California or something, go to Hollywood, we kind of want to just drag Hollywood here, if you will. And just, we're dedicated to just producing more content here, using Colorado resources, actors, production crew, post-production crew, and all of that. So it's just a great location.
All right, let's switch over and talk to Bobby and Omid for a bit. Can each of you tell us how you came to be part of the production? We'll start with Bobby and then go to Omid.
I was first approached by my agents about it, and I got a hold of Stephen and Isaac on the phone, and we decided to meet up. And we were just going to talk about a couple of things, and we ended up hanging out all evening. We walked away from that being pretty good friends, actually. And I was really blown away by their vision. I was totally blown away by the script. I thought it was outstanding. I thought I was really, really excited about being a part of it. And David is, it's me. I mean, bottom line, yeah. I mean, I've lived some of David's life, and I don't know. They approached me, and I was more excited about this project than I've been about anything in a really long time.
Excellent, thanks. How about you, Omid?
I was also approached by my agent as well, and at first I kind of, I was trying to take a break and sort of let this one go, and but then it kind of came up again like a month later, and I kind of decided, well, if something like this kind of comes back, saying might be worth sort of trying it out, see if it's a little bit special. And when we went to the audition, it's funny because I actually ran into some of the other guys who ended up being in the movie, like in the parking lot of the audition, like at our agent's office or whatever, and we were talking about it, we're like, how about that? How about these signs? How about that script? And we were kind of just working through the script, talking about how good it was, and kind of congratulating each other on, audition for it, or, wishing each other luck and stuff like that. And then
and originally
ended up in the movie.
Good. Originally, weren't you considered for another role than the one you ended up with?
Yeah, I was. There was a little bit of a switcheroo that ended up happening with one of the other actors. I was actually doing a play with at the same time, and behind the scenes we were like, what's going on here? Like, do they want us both, or you know what I mean? Or are they going to switch us up, or good luck. I hope we both end up in the movie, kind of thing. And on the callback, I met up with Steven, and he kind of just saw my mannerisms, and I memorized the part, and then for the scene, and then I ended up not having to perform it because he saw my anxiety and the way that I moved and how fidgety I was, and he was like, no, that's it right there, let's do it. And he cast me on the spot, and then we went inside to talk to Steve, and I realized I recognized him too. And I used to do a food truck thing over at the Ice Festival in Cripple Creek, and he loved our grilled cheese sandwiches, and we connected over that. And then when I saw him again, I was like, oh my God, I have this sense of destiny, of these things kind of just lining up like one after the other. Small world.
I did want to ask Steve Kitzman, what are some of the tricks of the trade making a low budget movie with a big budget feel? Because that's what I read as a description, and I really felt like you delivered on that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're pretty proud of kind of the look and the quality that we ended up with. And it's really a bunch of different ingredients. Of course, a lot of it was just luck. So, but we had a very talented crew. Steven I've worked with for about 10 years now, and I always knew he was going to be just a great director, and of course he is. He's got a great eye and a great sense of storytelling. So that right off the bat, if you have a decent story, you can really go places. We were very fortunate. The level of talent here for the actors that we had and the crew. We did use a little bit of Florida crew. There was some connection with some people with Florida and some Denver folks on the crew, and they were all just very, very capable and talented as well. And we had great weather. We had the participation of Victor and Cripple Creek. Both towns really embraced the project and really welcomed us, and we kind of had a open door policy, and that really enabled us to have locations and be able to do things and get things that would normally cost a lot of money, for like locations, getting into casinos, working with the police department and the city governments. We were able to really kind of cut down on some of the red tape, and with our relationships, we were able to do a lot with a little, and that combined with the talent of everyone really came together nicely, we think.
Excellent, thank you. So Stephen Morgan, how would you describe like the mood on the set? I think you guys had a really great culture and chemistry there, and could you tell us a little bit about it? And was it just one of those things where you got lucky, or how did you build that?
You mean how do we build like the feel of the set, like while we were on set? Or
Just you said that you guys had so much fun making the movie, and everybody got along, and things went smoothly. But tell us a little bit about what it was like to work on the movie with all these talented production people and actors.
Well, for starters, I would say the biggest contributor to like us being a team and having fun was the fact that we all bunked together in the high school in Victor. It's a 100-year-old high school, and over 100 years, and it's retrofitted out to be a soccer camp. And so there's a lot of bunk beds, and there's a lot of, there's a couple showers and a couple bathrooms. And it just made for an interesting, we started off the day bumping into each other, trying to get into the bathroom, and all right, what are we shooting today? And we'd talk about the scene, and I'd be like making coffee over here, like while Omid or Bobby or someone would be like, hey, so this scene, I was thinking about doing this thing. And I'd be like, well, let's try it. You know what I mean? But it just felt like we were all there together. For me, I never felt like any of the actors wanted or asked to be treated differently, or better than we were treating them. Everyone was just kind of like aligned in this focus and this vision of like, let's just make a great movie. And it may hurt when it's cold out. It may be uncomfortable at times, and we don't get a whole lot of sleep, and we got to get up early, but we're all doing it together. And I feel like being able to be, it was like summer camp. It felt like summer camp.
Yeah.
So Bob didn't pull a prima donna on you. He kind of seems like he might be high maintenance.
Oh, he is not high maintenance at all. Bobby is the best. Yeah, no, that's the thing is like, just when you spit, and this is kind of how I work. I like to hire people. When I hire a person, I really pay attention to like their, natural talent, and like, okay, could they do the role? Could they do the job? Yes. Okay, great. Once I figured that out, then my next question is this someone that is going to play with us? Are we going to have fun together? This is an industry that everyone in this industry gets into it because we just want to play around. And so like, I was very happy and very pleased with every single actor and every single crew member just felt like they were just playing around, and we were just having fun. And there's time to be serious. And, sometimes it was like, especially when we were shooting blanks or, doing a shootout in the middle of this the street. You got to, you know, be careful and make sure everything's done right, which we did. But it was just so much fun. And when you're having fun, there's, you know, you don't have to handle the set really as much, you know, you just kind of enjoy it, you know? So, yeah.
Everyone's very
Excellent.
humble and down to earth too.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's something that's so great about filming here in Colorado is, I think any of us probably had a, you know, chance to go to a bigger market or something like that, but Colorado still maintains that sense of humility. I found in my experience where people really kind of connect to each other, you know, like on a human to human or personable basis, while still maintaining a strong line of, you know, professional structure, and everyone's still disciplined, wants to make a great film, but at the same time, you know, nobody's treating each other badly, poorly, you know, and we all sort of connect over that. To me, it was like, yeah, it was like going to camp or something like that. It was so much fun being in that high school, whatever it was, just bunking together. It's like we all connected over that. It set the groundwork. It set the soil for like what would come out of that, I feel like.
Yeah. It sounds like there was a lot of trust among everybody in all directions, which allowed you to make do the project on budget, be on time, not have any drama, but also have fun with it. And it seems like trust would have been a key element there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like, so like I had several people, like I trust Steve with my life. Now I trust Bobby and Omid with my life for sure. But we had several crew members like Mo, who was the cinematographer that I've worked with for years in Orlando. You know, he came out without any, we didn't really pay him at all. He was like, let's do this thing. You know what I mean? And he just came out and brought, you know, gear, and he was the one who hooked us up with some crew members. And you know, like I put my trust in him as much as he put his trust in me. And yeah, that you nailed it, is exactly it. We all trusted each other, and like there was not a moment when the trust was broken from my perspective. I didn't see it. It never happened one time where I had to bring someone back in or like, hey, you know, have a talk with them on the side or something like that. It just kind of worked, and which is saying a lot because it was really a crazy shoot. The snow and the amount of days, and you know, just nuts.
While we're talking about trust, can I chime in?
Please.
Yeah.
There's a variety of different kind of directors, you dig, and I've worked with a lot of them. And Stephen has the innate ability to create a bubble of safety around his actors so that we can do literally anything. We're capable of doing anything, you dig? And so what you see on film is a direct result, not only of the talent that was brought to the table and all the work that went into it, but is Stephen's ability to create a bubble of safety around his actors. You know, and that's something that a director either has or doesn't have. It's not something that can be taught in any class. There's not something that you can pick up. You either got it or you don't. You know? And I knew that he had it the day that we spent that time talking together about doing the film. And once I got on set with him, it was obvious, you know, and that's why that's what makes things run cohesive. It really is.
Okay. Did you feel the bubble, Omid?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I felt that right straight from the audition. And part of my story of how I got involved with it was just on my callback, you know, Steve and I were just having a conversation. You know what I mean? It's like, sure, it was leading towards some performative element. I was sitting there in my head thinking like, hey, when do you want me to like perform this scene? So I can, so it's like, this is an audition, but it wasn't, it was just Steve and I talking. And then when I saw Steven Kitzman, you know, I was like, oh my God, there's another familiar face. And then when we went in for the first read, it was, you know, it was at Steven's house. I got to meet his family. Everyone was there. Everyone was cool. There was that personal element. There were so many clues over like, this is professional. And it's also very human as well. The people involved are what help to create something. It's not just the script, it's not just the studio behind it, it's the people who are involved, and that set the precedent for trust to be able to flow from that. And then when I started to see things I'm used to seeing at the professional level, like, you know, call sheets coming in and you know what I mean, like the actual schedule and all that kind of stuff, you know, I was able to approach it in a way that felt like, okay, we're doing something great here, and also I love these people, you know. And
Yeah.
of course, a lot of the other actors who ended up being, and I mentioned this before, I've played with some of them before in theater or in other films, so that was great too. Just the familiarity of the Colorado market. We all kind of know each other in a way, and that's you know, that's amazing. It's got a small town vibe with a, you know, big town sort of production quality, I guess. Well, we're getting there.
No, I've heard the city and the region described that way. I agree. So do you guys feel like that brought out your best performances for these? I'm not familiar with your other work, but I thought you both did really well in this film. I loved your characters. They felt authentic to me. Did you feel like it brought out the best in you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When an actor is allowed to relax into a role and be real, it always turns out great, you know. And that is what we all strive for, is to be real in fictitious circumstances, you know.
Oh,
And
that's a great way to describe it. That's what acting is.
Acting is being real in fictitious circumstances, and that's when it.
And there were some times that I asked Bobby to do some things he wasn't really super. I mean, you know, like when we were on the rooftop, you know, I was, you know, he went deep. He got deep in a place, and he told me afterwards there's places he went that he didn't think he would go again. And this movie, I'll tell you, is where I learned, because I didn't go to film school, I learned that actors do way more emotional tennis than I knew that they did while they're acting. Like, the kinds of things that Bobby and Omid and Ben and Sarah and all these people did, like, and I would hear about it a little bit in between takes and stuff, and they'd say, well, you got to give me a second because I got to do this thing or whatever. It blew my mind that they were willing to go there, and it kind of made me feel bad a little bit that I was asking them to. But you know, when it came out and all of a sudden the performance was there, it was like, oh my God, like, you see why we do this, you know.
Cool.
It was great being on set. You know, I was just kind of watching at that point off to the side, but just, I remember the first day of shooting just being so thrilled with the level of professionalism combined with everybody was giving 100% without anybody saying, hey, can you give a little bit more? It was such a really cool collaboration with everybody involved. And I think everybody was feeding off of each other going, you know, hey, I can see you're giving your best. I'm going to give my best. And, but at the same time, you know, as far as sets go, you know, very low stress. Everybody just was really calm, and you know, we were very professional but very relaxed. And it's the way that Stephen and I have always worked together on other projects that we've done, and without consciously doing it, it happened on this project, and it just created a great atmosphere. And like these guys have said, the collaboration and the talent level was just amazing. We were just so blown away and thrilled. And Stephen and I were like, well, we can't wait to do this again.
Yes, I think we need a sequel. And, you know, Omid, I think you would feature prominently in that. I know there was one character that didn't have credit at the end of the movie, but did cause you stress, and that was the snow. Can you tell us? Can you tell us how the serendipity of the snow helped you out?
Well, from the very beginning, I was like thinking this would be way cooler movie if it was in snow, like if it would snow. But everyone was telling me, like, you know, okay, first off, you can't count on snow in Colorado, like, because it drops here and then it melts really quickly and all this stuff. So there was lots of different levels of it probably isn't going to happen. But that didn't stop me from praying all the same and asking for it, because I really wanted it, even though it made it a little more difficult to shoot in. but it just made it, you know, you don't, that's to answer your question, you know, how do you make a low budget movie with a big budget feel? There's little things like that. Like, you know, for $100,000 movie, you would never choose to shoot in the snow. Like never, like no one would. That would be insane. But it just happened to work out perfectly for us. And, you know, it snowed the day before we started production. And I was very happy about that. We had to go to the thrift store and buy some of the crew some snow boots and such to, you know, to help them out with that stuff. But like, yeah. And then it melted all the first week. And then we were like, what are we going to do? And then the Sunday we had off, it snowed again and just blanketed the whole place. So to anyone who would want to know, like say, hey, how do you shoot in snow? I'd say, don't try it. Like, don't do it on purpose, you know, because it's really unpredictable and really difficult. And you can't walk through the set. Like you literally can't, you got to do all your direction saying like, okay, you're going to come out from that corner over there. Cause the second you walk through the set, you ruin the set. So like, you know, there's a, you know, the scene when Ben and, you know, he meets up with Mr. Leonard up, you know, out in the woods and in the cemetery and stuff like that. And for that, it was like, hey, we have one shot at getting you coming out of the woods without having footsteps everywhere. So like we had to just plan it very specifically. And that's the kind of stuff that you don't expect and you don't plan necessarily, you know, plan on until you get there and you say, ooh, this is something, you know. But yeah, it makes you get more creative. You know what I mean? You go in tighter. You say, hey, let's do the master first. That way we get, you know, a clean ground where you run out, and then we'll do all the close-ups. And it's just, it's a nonstop, every day, every moment, figure it out. And like we had cars get stuck in the snow. We had to push them out and stuff like that. And like there was all sorts of things that happened. And you know, anyone who wasn't actively shooting was in a car, like warming up and, you know, so yeah, the snow played a massive role in the production value. But it also played a really big role in making it difficult.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad it worked out for you because you're the only person who can get snow on demand. So that's quite a talent. I'm going to go to a couple of the questions. One is from Megan Roselle. And Stephen, I think this is a good friend of yours, but she wanted you to talk about the re-edit. And she says, on a level of meh to heck yeah, are you glad you went back through a second edit process? I was not aware that you had done that. So can you talk to us about that?
She's probably talking, first off, Megan is, she does words good. And that's what I like about her. But
she does. I wanted to include all her words.
Yeah. But she's wonderful. She's from Cripple Creek. And so she's probably talking about because we showed the movie to Cripple Creek first. Before we showed it to anybody else, we had a screening at the Butte Theater and we showed the locals. And then we did the same thing in Victor with the ISIS Theater. And it was awesome. But she was aware when we showed that first script, when we played it that first time, it hadn't been color graded yet. It hadn't had a sound design yet. It hadn't had a lot of things done with it yet. It was kind of, that screening was a little bit of like a tester. Like, what do people think about this thing? You know, what do people, what are if the locals hate it, then that's really bad. You know what I mean? But they loved it and they had a great time and we did a Q&A and everything. But basically what happened was that took me into, okay, now I know it resonates with an audience. There was one scene that we cut after that screening because we were very curious of like how it would play with an audience, and it didn't play at all, and so we killed it. And but that's the thing, and Bobby could tell you the same thing because he was my like emotional guru throughout the process of editing this film. And like it was really not a good movie for a long time. And it just took a long time of cutting it and trying something new and changing all the music and putting in new music and adding the title things. And like a ton of stuff was added to it later on because it just like, it was, and any professional filmmaker will tell you the first cut of any movie is horrifying. you know, but this one, it just took a while to get to where it is. And a huge thing that really helped us lock in that the quality of it was the color grade and the sound design, and the color, and they were both done here in Colorado. So the color grade was done by Peter Morgenthaler of Frame Linear, and the sound design was done by Matthew Polis over at Soundscape in Boulder. And once they got their mitts on it, it changed to a whole new thing, and it was incredible. And to their credit, we didn't pay them what they deserved. We didn't have what they deserved, and you know, but it was one of those situations where you say, okay, well, can you please watch the first 5 minutes of it? And if that intrigues you and you want to keep watching it, maybe you watch the next 10 minutes. And then if you like it, if you finish it and you like it, maybe you'll consider doing it. And they did. And it was amazing. And I will forever be in their debt because of it, because it really, I mean, it really, you know, especially the sky, like how Peter could pull out the color, the richness of the sky was incredible.
Yeah, they bring it back to what you see with your eyes. But I've received footage before, and you're like, oh, is that what you caught? And then they fix the color, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
That's what I was talking about. The level of talent that's here in Colorado. Both Matthew and Peter, both are two great examples of really high-end guys that, you know, they're here in Colorado. They could easily be in LA. But their level of quality is, you know, second to none. So those are just some of the good resources that we have here that kind of enable us to be able to have confidence to do what we do. And, you know, the sky's the limit for us. You know, we've got several projects in the hopper that we want to do. And, you know, we're fearlessly going forward with the knowledge that we have these great people here in this state to help us out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So how much did it cost to make the film, and how did you raise that money?
The total budget was $100,000. I think we have, and I'm not messing around here, I think we have like $200 left in the account, which is incredible. The fact that we were able to finish it. And I could tell you all the things that I've had to sacrifice to make that a reality, but I won't. But it was just, I mean, basically it was, you know, it was friends and family, you know, because if you go out of friends and family, then it's a whole new process with the FCC and all that stuff. So we did just friends and family, and we, like I said, we used the short film and the script to lock in the actors, and yeah, it was $100,000, and we still haven't spent it all. So
wow,
it's a feather in our cap, little feather.
So that budget included the short that you made to sell it?
Oh, we shot the short for nothing. We just went out with my camera and our gear, and just yeah. Which we've never released the short, actually, which we should.
Yeah, I think people would like to see it. Bobby, your character David had a really special relationship with the lead female, Annie. So how did you prepare for the role, and what experiences did you draw from? Because that was a really solid relationship that you two had on the screen.
Well, I mean, I'm a dad. I got a whole slew of kids. That was helpful. But more than that is the relationship that he has with Annie is a surrogate relationship. As you know, I'm not going to give away too much of the movie, but he lost someone and she took their place. And that's happened to me in my life. I've lost someone and then had someone take their place like that. And I know how important they became to me and how important I became to them. And I just kind of brought that to the table. And then working with Sarah, I mean, she's such a generous actress and she's so talented that you can't have a bad scene when you're working with somebody like that. You can't. It's just impossible.
Yeah, no, I agree. She was quite good. Omen, how did you relate to Kyle, your character, and what did you draw upon to make him so quirky and likable?
Well, I have a sort of fascination with kind of clown or sort of like fool type of character, or trickster type characters. And I kind of feel like he sort of like wobbled along the fine line between both, where he sort of, you know, his whole sort of position as an object within the script is sort of the foil of the main character, Ben. So for me, I'm kind of like his sort of sidekick complement, his you know, what is it, Sancho Panza to Don Quixote, you know, in a way. And they build this big fantasy up of being able to sort of get away with this heist that's going to get them rich. And I think for me, the point that I feel like I could relate to, that I feel like a lot of people could relate to, is this sort of bubble of fantasy that's built up in being able to kind of get away with the American dream very easily in some kind of scheme or something like that, only to have it be, you know, the bubble of fantasy be popped by, you know, the horror of reality when it sort of rears its head, like a Peter Pan, you know, like you know, Captain Hook coming in and just trying to ruin Peter Pan's fantasy and trying to force him to take responsibility and grow up and become an adult and not fantasize and have an imagination anymore. So, you know, for me, I always start with that literary analysis of the script in that kind of way, and then try and connect in with how this character is acting a lot of that stuff out. And, you know, the character's a huge drug addict, so he's always feeding that fantasy with, you know, imbibing all the time, and that kind of adds into the humor because he's always trying to run away from you know, the sort of tragic reality of what they unload when it comes to actual violence and actual, you know, these hillbilly guys coming in and ruining everything.
Those guys.
At the core of it, though, it's this foolishness, and that comes from pain. It comes from the pain of having to come to the grips of reality that, like, your fantasy is not going to pan out.
Okay, that's cool. I like that analysis. I'm going to jump back over to a question, and this is from Timothy Klotz, and he says, without giving anything away, are there any loose ends, so to speak, that will help lead to a sequel? So I'll let one of the Steves answer that question.
Well, we've had several people say that they would love to see a prequel, like a Ben and Kyle origin story kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a bunch of stuff in the movie that we intentionally put in there as tiny little references to things that we could probably expand on, you know, his background and the little, like, some of the backstory between Ben and Annie and what happened with them, and, like, you know, that
or what happened to David.
Or what happened to David. Yeah, lots of stuff. We could probably figure something out, but
or how the priest got so weird.
Yeah.
That's
You know how the priest got so weird. You just don't know because it didn't make it into the film.
Yeah.
This is true.
The original scene actually straight up told you how he became him, and then we just kind of like the fact that, you know, it was a little bit more ambiguous. Like, people seem to resonate with the fact that it's a little like, who is this guy and what the heck is his problem? But yeah, I mean, like, if you've watched the movie, there are several loose ends that you can
I think that's what he wanted to know.
Yeah.
But I'm really intrigued with your idea of a prequel, because you're right.
Don't say it.
Had some very interesting things that were alluded to, but there was no time to go into it. And you're like, yeah, I'd like to know why she's pissed off at him, or what happened to poor David, and, you know, what's Kyle's home life like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
What was the car ride like between Ben and Kyle on the way to Colorado to do this thing? You know, all right, we're going to get there. It's all going to work perfectly. And yeah. And then you got the other bad guys and what their deal was. So there you go. There's your next couple of projects right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a couple of buddy films that could definitely be made out of that. So yeah.
Excellent. Denise wanted to know, what was the biggest challenge of the whole project, or was it the snow? And how you overcame it?
Yeah, I mean, the snow was was rough, but like I said, I was really happy about it.
From my perspective, I think the biggest challenge was just actually getting it done from the very early days all the way up until this past August 11th when we released it. It was a 4-year process really from beginning to end. So it's taken quite a lot of time to get to the point where we are, and it feels really good to be on this end of it. But the challenge was just never really, it was really Stephen and I's first film project of any kind of scale or magnitude. So, and there were so many moving parts, just I think from my perspective, completing a good film was the biggest hurdle. And it took a whole lot of people all helping and chipping in. I mean, a whole lot of people. I mean, it is such a small film, but, as you see in the credits, still quite a few people are involved in this project.
Absolutely.
The credit sequence is fairly long, and, it's definitely not a student film. There's a lot of people on it. And, but yeah, but it was such a rewarding process too. We were rewarded with all these little tiny victories along the way. And it just kept building to, we would have letdowns, and then we'd have, we had some kind of major actors for the role of Bill, for example, and in mind. And so we had reached out to quite a number of more known actors, and we're kind of getting shot down. And we ended up with Lou Temple, who appeared in a few seasons of The Walking Dead. And, the story on how we ended up getting him was, because of the short film, his wife loved the short film and said, if the movie for the script is anything like the short film, you got to be in this. And,
that's great.
So it was like these little setbacks followed up by these unexpected victories, like, oh gosh, the snow's going away. We've still got a whole other week to shoot. What do? It snows on our dark day, the one dark day we have, and replenishes perfectly the snow look that we've had the previous whole week, and it stayed for the next whole week. So there were all these little setbacks, but then setback and victory, and it was a great ride. So,
okay, yeah, because what I've learned from talking with you guys over the past few weeks is that creating a quality feature length film is very much an accomplishment, and getting distribution is not easy. So what does it mean to have such a film in your resume, and what are some tips to landing the kind of distribution that you got?
Well, we got fortunate with the distribution because right as we were getting finished with it, COVID hit, and we were like, well, we talked about it early on, and we were like, I mean, if this thing goes, any farther than it looks like it's going to go, like COVID wise, they're probably not going to have festivals or do anything physically. So we kind of just started, blasting it out to anyone any distribution company we could get an email address for. And, we made sure and put in the title and low budget movie shot at 10,000 feet elevation, under $100,000 in 12 days. And like all these little buzzwords that'll make people interested. And we got about 5 or 6 different, distributors interested, but Gravitas was the one that we liked the idea of them because they were newer and they were, they're buying up a bunch of stuff, and they seemed like a company that was really into supporting the filmmaker. And so when they gave us an offer, it was like a dream come true. But yeah,
Excellent.
You're right. I mean, like making a feature, like making just a feature, it doesn't matter how good it is or not, just finishing a movie that's longer than 50 minutes is a massive undertaking, and it is way harder than it looks. But what made it good, I think, is and this came actually, my wife kept telling me, like, hey, just do it how you want it. You know what I mean? Like once I started, because you have all this money behind it, and you're like, oh, you gotta please other people, but really it's, you have to stick with the vision. And basically we just cut out all the stuff that was not good, and that's, and that was a big concern for me at first, because I was like, well, geez, if it's only 70 minutes, how are we going to get it distributed? No one's going to want no one's going to pay for a movie that's only 70 minutes. And then I looked on IMDb, and Christopher Nolan's first movie was 69 minutes. So
You beat
that
him.
literally, that was the thing. I was like, okay, it's fine. His first one. and you know, it turns out people have said like they love that it's only 70 minutes. They love that it's just a quick little flash in the pan, and they want more. And
Yeah.
so that would be like my advice for anyone making a feature is like cut out anything that doesn't work. And as long as you can get it above that like hour, I don't know, who knows how, you know, what people are willing to sit through, but you know,
it felt like the right amount of time. I enjoyed the characters so much. I would have watched a longer version, but it told the story in the 70 minutes. I didn't realize it was that short. It felt like a normal movie length to me.
well, good.
Yeah.
That makes us very happy.
Yay, Amy's happy.
Yeah.
Everything's good. And so you're in the process now of reaching out to international distribution outlets. Is that true?
Yep, we got a domestic deal, a North American deal with Gravitas, so Canada and United States, and we were going to reach out at first, but we decided to wait and see what it was going to do here, and maybe, you know, try to build a fan base and you know, get some more interest before we reach out to international distributors. And so we've been connecting with people just through email and stuff like that, and just building those relationships. But yeah, hopefully within the next, you know, few months or so, we'll be able to get a deal. You know,
yeah,
that's where we're at with the distribution.
We're hoping to get it on some more streaming services, and you know, right now it's on Amazon Prime and iTunes, and then you can buy DVD and Blu-ray from Amazon as well.
Okay.
You know, we you know, of course, you want it to go to even a broader audience. So hopefully that'll come. We've gotten some good reviews, so hopefully with all of that, you know, international distribution, we can get a deal, and you know, it's a fun little film. So.
Yeah,
and the fun thing about it is it's not going anywhere. Like that's when I realized that about making movies is like, you don't just sell a movie, you know what I mean? You don't like sell it off and then you never see it again. You license it, you know what I mean? So as we make more, it will become more known and people will see it more. And then down the road, you know, maybe you'll, you know, become a thing, but like,
catch fire.
Yeah, it's and the most important part is, I guess, for me as a director, is that like, you know, it feels like a movie that I would want to see. You know what I mean? And it is. I would totally watch this, and I do watch this movie. That's the funny thing. I showed my kids, and they laughed all the way through it, and I was like, kind of nervous to show them, but you know, they thought it was
they got
great.
to hear all those swear words, but which I thought were used very effectively. So I don't know, I know that it takes a long time to write a script and plan a movie, but do you have any sense that like if you were ready to start shooting between say now and the middle of next year, could you even do it with the pandemic, or does it just make it too impossible? Do you need too much proximity to be able to shoot a movie?
They're shooting movies right now, like with the pandemic going on. Actually, our screenwriter Isaac it just got done shooting his first feature in Los Angeles, and it was, I believe, the first feature that SAG approved post-COVID. So people are doing it. I don't necessarily want to do it right now, just because that sounds like a lot of like really. It sounds like there's a lot of ways that it can just get shut down.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so what were you going to say, Steve?
Yeah, there actually are written rules and protocols in place for production during this pandemic. In Colorado has a protocol actually for it, for production, and just like every state, most states do now. The only thing about it is it does add a movie is already complex to pull off on the production side. So it does add a whole other layer of, you know, all the normal things you would normally have to do. Now you got to worry about COVID protocols and keeping everybody safe. So, you know, I'm with Steven. I'm really happy that right now we're in the phase of still writing and developing our next projects, and we're not waiting to start shooting, you know, and shooting is getting held up and we're ready to go. I'm glad we're not at that doorstep just yet as this unfolds. Hopefully it
Okay.
won't take
Well, and
much
it gives
longer.
us the opportunity to like enjoy the marketing experience. That's the thing.
Mm.
I don't. I hate the idea of like, like rushing and I gotta get the next thing. The marketing and this part of it is all. This is the third part of it. You know what I mean? There's
Mhm.
pre-production and writing and development. That's but the first part. Then there's production and editing, and that's the making of it. You know what I mean? The actual making of it. And then there's the marketing, and then there's the selling of it and trying to let people know what it's about. And like, this is a lot of people get burned out in this phase, but when you really love the project that you worked on, it's fun to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we had very few things happen that made us that we wouldn't want to talk about. Like I can't even think of anything that really happened that I didn't like. You know what I mean? It was just a blast. It was fun.
It was fun.
It does sound like it was fun. So starting with Omid and then Bobby and then the two Steves, like what projects are in the works for each of you that you're able to tell us about, or is anybody on a break?
Well, I was gonna go on a break, but
Great.
but I actually tomorrow is actually the release of another one of my films, actually called Monster Force Zero, directed by Nate Latier, another Colorado filmmaker. So I've got some things in the pipeline, and then next year I got 2 more features coming out, and then Bobby's got something too, and and I had a little bit of a bit part. I have a lot of little bit parts here and there, and then I'm doing 2 little comic book fan films that we're gonna
cool.
put up on the internet. That's like a whole different little genre from like feature narratives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of awesome.
Well, that sounds fun. And Bobby, you're not only an actor, you're a radio personality and a painter and a tattoo artist. So tell us a little bit about all the different things that keep you busy.
Well, acting wise, I just finished producing my first film. Omid is in it. I actually hired about 2/3 of the cast of Rook for my movie that's coming out. We're editing it now. And I'm in the process of creating a radio station, an online radio station right now. But Steve and I are plotting to create a terrestrial radio station up in Victor.
And what is that?
A FM radio station, a radio station with an antenna.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. I heard terrestrial and I thought aliens, but I guess that's extra.
Land-based
Yeah.
instead of internet-based. So, a traditional radio station, community radio station up there in the Gold Camp.
Got it. And so Steven, what are you guys working on, even if it's just in broad strokes?
Yeah, there's so I have like a ton of ideas that I would love to do. There's a true story that we're working on right now based on a guy around here, and we really love that story and just like the idea, but we're still doing interviews, so we're not really ready to talk about it too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a TV show idea we've been working on, like a mini series, a 3-season kind of a deal, and then some other movie stuff. But what we do next is going to really kind of be based on like who out here is interested in doing it. You know what I mean? Because we did this one for very low budget, and I don't think I could do that again, because we didn't make any money off it. You know what I mean? Like this was a calling card. This was a look what we can do. So the things moving forward is like, hey, we can make a movie and we can do it out here. And we feel very fortunate that we are right here where we are with Pikes Peak right there. And, in the Springs, it's just so beautiful that, it's going to be difficult to make a movie that isn't beautiful out here. And so, it just depends. We're going to be writing really soon here. We're writing right now, but we're going to be really, putting the pen to paper, so to speak. And we should have something at least ready to start pitching by the end of the year. And
that's really great. And then you'll have this movie as your calling card, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the projects we have we've kind of got 3 different directions we're going simultaneously. And like Steven said, it just kind of depends on where they land. So, we're kind of just concurrently developing a few ideas. So, but yeah, this Rook hopefully gets us legitimized in the community to where people can go, yeah, these guys have the ability to pull it off. And it's just a matter of digging in and doing it. And yeah, we would, the money would be nice to make something.
You guys deserve that.
It's been a passion, but it's our passion. It was truly a passion project, and it was for these guys here, these actors, all of the cast and crew. We did everything we could to accommodate everybody and make it to where we weren't going around asking for a bunch of freebies or asking people to do something for nothing. So we wanted to, at least to the best of our ability, honor their skills and their talents, as much as we could. So
and Victor and Cripple Creek, like our big thing we talked about, like when we first started, and we even had like a meeting before we started, just let everyone know, look, as a film, we are going to leave this place better than we got it, than better than we came. And I think the towns saw that and they felt that. Because when we first started talking to them about it, there was a lot of talk about like, oh, we've heard this before and people have come in and tried things and it hasn't worked and stuff. And so we had kind of an uphill, experience. But then once they saw it, they were like, oh, so you actually do know how to make a movie. And they loved it. And people love seeing, their buildings and, the different places that we shot there and everything. And it just, I don't know, it felt really, really cool to be able to elevate a community, or at least be a part of it. Like I just want to be like, I know Bobby wants to move to Victor, but like, I love Victor. We love Victor. And like,
Victor's cool.
There's such a cool community, and Cripple Creek's really cool too. They're both really cool. The whole Gold Camp in general is just a awesome place.
It's a special place, and I was always surprised by how many folks from Colorado Springs that have lived here their whole life have never even been there. They're like, yeah, I think I've heard of Cripple Creek, but I'm not sure where it is. And I'm like,
no, how many? You gotta go.
They've lived here 45 years, and so it's kind of funny. But I'll dovetail on what Steven said real quick. We really, really tried to honor the things like when we would go to a location and we were using people's business or working with the public works departments of both towns or the police department. We really tried to stick with our schedule. We said, we're going to be here from this time to this time on this day, and this is what we're going to do. And we really made a concerted effort to do what we said and said what we were going to do, and to kind of build that trust, so that, because we knew we wanted to do this again and we didn't want to burn any bridges. So and so I think we're fortunate in both towns, and we've already talked to some folks up there and they're like, yeah, we're ready for you whenever you want to do another project. So that feels good, knowing they felt good about what we did, and we really tried to honor little things for the community. Like we try to be as accurate as possible with the gold depicted in the film, how gold is really done up there. You don't find nuggets of gold. So in as short amount of time as possible, we really tried to be as realistic and honor those kinds of things that matter to people up there. And, there's a lot of Easter eggs for the folks who live up there. And that's, I think, why they get a kick out of it, is because there's a lot of like little hidden inside jokes and things like that. So,
and don't forget, when we showed that movie in Victor, it was the first time that a movie had been shown in Victor since the 70s.
Oh my God.
Okay, so like
wonderful.
Side story here. This is really cool. Like Bobby said, so the ISIS Theater in Victor was recently purchased by this woman, and her and her partner have been trying to fix it up, and they've gotten a grant from the state. It's a historic movie theater and stage theater. And like Bobby says, since the mid 1970s, this theater had not hosted any kind of a public screening or a movie or any kind of an event, really. It's just been closed up for the last 45 years.
Oh, wow.
So we talked to her. The town was very, very excited. We looked at it. We looked around and we're like, what would it take? to actually do a screening in this theater that hasn't seen people in 45 years. So we did a quick cleanup and rallied together the community, and we had over 70 people show up for the screening.
Isn't that more people than live in Victor?
Well, the town's about 300, 325, so
Yeah.
a big chunk of the town came out. And but it really it was that sense of community pride that and folks who had seen movies there in their childhood, they hadn't been back in 45 years, and they're like, this is so awesome. And there's this moment of just this crazy synchronicity where there is the shootout scene in the movie takes place outside the front door of the ISIS theater. So, and the people in there watching the shootout happen on the street and right out the front doors. So that was just really a cool experience,
That's a great
bringing
story.
that to the community. And, they're people have said, when are you going to do that again? So it's been really fun. So.
Sounds like you'll have a lot of support. But the website, in case you haven't been to it, is rookfilm.com. And can you guys tell us again how everyone on the call can watch the movie? What outlets? I watched it on Apple TV, I felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's on Apple TV. It's on iTunes to rent and to buy. And it's on Amazon to rent and buy. And it's on Amazon to rent and buy digitally and DVD and Blu-rays. You can get a Blu-ray.
Oh, cool.
And a DVD off of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's on a bunch of different cable things. So like Cox and go to rookfilm.com. Yeah, Turner Classic Movies. Go to the website rookfilm.com. It'll send you where you need to go.
Yeah. Right under the banner, you'll see all of the links, and so it'll say where to buy, where to stream, where to buy a DVD, that kind of thing. And the links are just right there.
Excellent. So that is rookfilm.com. Does anyone on the panel have anything final that they want to say? Are there any last questions from the chat?
We just really appreciate you and appreciate the region, and we love it here, and we're not planning on going anywhere. Right. And so you'll see a lot more of us.
Well, that's great. We look forward to that, and I think you're just going to get a lot of warmth and welcome from the communities here.
Well, thank you.
And certainly let us know how we can help as the film commission for the one of the film commissions for the region.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Amy, for all of your help and your time tonight to put this on. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You guys are all wonderful. Can't wait to see what comes out next.